all the particular startup and shutdown tweaks and optimizations for your system for those who are users of Windows 8, 8.1, and 10. In my prior video, which was aimed primarily at everyone from XP up to basically 8 and 8.1, the tweaks did work for them. It was mainly focused on those users rather than dedicated primarily to Windows 8, 8.1, and 10. In this video, we're going to address the specifics, tweaks that are going to apply to Windows 10, where the locations are, and all the good practices that I didn't even put into the prior video. You'll even find tweaks that were not in the prior video as well. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is practice our good safe practices and type in system restore. We're going to create a restore point. On System Protection tab, create a restore point, type in whatever you like before tweaks, and hit create. I already have one made, so I'm not going to be creating one. This will take a few minutes. Exit out of that, and we're going to get started on the next set of tweaks. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to gather up some information. Okay, I'm going to have you go here to your Explorer, go to this PC, right click on the open space, hit Properties. On yours, you should say processor and installed memory. I'd like you to write those down as well as noting whether it's a 64-bit operating system. Exit out of this. I'll cancel that, go to Advanced System Settings. We're going to go to the Performance section here of the Advanced tab, hit Settings, go again to the Advanced tab. Under Virtual Memory, go to Change, and I want you to write down the recommended RAM hard drive allotment that's used for your paging file or your virtual memory. When you're done writing that down, exit out, and we should be back right here, and close that out, and we're ready to start moving on to our next section. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to type in Regedit. I want you to right click on that, run as administrator, of course accept, and we're going to start here. Those of you that have watched the prior video, you've seen a lot of these. Please follow along as well. Run down the high key current user. You can use the right key or double click on it. It'll expand it. Move down the control panel, expand it to desktop. There's going to be a number of tweaks here. I'm just going to delete one right now because I'm going to end up putting it in. So you guys can see how we add in things. First thing we're going to do is look for menu show delay. On your system, it should probably be reading about 20,000, maybe 10,000. Knock it down to 50. This controls how fast your start menu comes up. You can see right here. It's pretty fast and lightning. Change this, it'll do the same. It'll change it to 50, hit OK. I'm going to show you how to, another one is hung app timeout, just right here. Might be another 20,000, knock it down to 4,000. Every 1,000 is a second, so this gives it 4 seconds. It's done in milliseconds, so if there's 50, it's 50 milliseconds. It's 100, it's 100 milliseconds. And 4,000 is 4 seconds, or 4,000 milliseconds. Okay, now we're going to have you add in a key. This key is going to be a string value. Hasn't been used since the days of XP, but still applies to all Windows systems today. It's going to be called auto end tasks. Pay attention to how it's typed out. Capital A, lowercase UTO, capital E, lowercase ND, capital T, ASKS is going to be lowercase. Hit enter, and it's going to bring up this window right here. This is basically a Boolean argument, either a true or false. You can put in a 1, and it's going to auto end tasks as your system's exiting Windows when you shut it down. It will speed it up. We're going to go back here to this pane here and back out with the left key, or just back out. We're going to start from current user again, go down to system, not system, software, Microsoft, Windows, current version, run. In this section, this is one of the two main startup sections where you will encounter the programs that are running at startup. Often the ones under your profile are going to be ones that are not needed. Exceptions are going to be ones that are designed for drivers. What you will have to do is reference them and make sure that they're ones that are not needed. For instance, a lot of these, if you get rid of all these here, these are all non-drivers, non-system needed, and they will improve performance. The other location is going to be under high key local machine from computer, software again, Microsoft, Windows, current version, run. And here are the ones where you'll find majority of the drivers. They like to keep these under the local machine, and it's a smart place to have it because it's ones that apply to all users. Now you might find things either under your local one, under the current user, or the machine that might not apply. Like for instance, iTunes might throw something in here. Adobe Updater might throw something in here. Name it for your Adobe Flash, your Adobe Acrobat, DC Reader, Java Updater, just to name a few of the more popular ones you deal with. These do not need to run, and the rule of thumb is if you can run it by manually going to the website. I know it's a little more work, but I mean, you have time online. And you just go and update it manually. Make sure to not jump in on any of their extras and bundled stuff. Just get what you need and get out. That's usually my rule of thumb. But if you can do that, then you can disable the ones that are non-drivers. For instance, you see here, this is an audio, another one having to do with audio. This is my webcam, and this here is for my graphics settings for my Radeon. So these four, during any sort of system cleanup, are not going to be used. I'm not going to be deleting them. So I do not touch them. Okay, back at high key local machine. Go to system. You're going to see one says current control set, or control set 001 and current control set. These two keys have many of the same options. The one at the bottom should be wait to kill service timeout. It's a registry string, and yours might be reading about maybe 20,000 or 15,000 or 12,000. I'm going to ask you to cut that back to 2,000, which is 2-second wait or delay to kill services that are not running, or the program that was controlling them stopped running and it doesn't need to keep running. This will help you not only reduce the current memory that's being used, but it also free up memory for something more important, like maybe your gaming or your browsing. Now back out on that and do the same here under current control set. And just a note, some users might have more current control sets than others. I've seen some sets that have taken it down in the 70s. I don't know how or why. It's rare cases, but I have seen it. Now, oftentimes what you do under one affects the other. So you may not even need to do anything. It's just to cover your tail, make sure that the settings can apply to everybody. The more users you have, the more control sets you're going to have. Just remember that. Now under control, you're going to scroll down to Session Manager right here. Let me just maximize this, make this easier for you to read. Session Manager, double click on it, it's going to expand it. Memory management is what we want. Now right here you're going to see a list of things: clear page file, shutdown, disable paging executive, existing page files, paging files, second level data cache. These are the important ones that we need to remember. Now I'm going to explain what each one of them does. Clear page file shutdown with a 0 means that the system page file will not be wiped and deleted as system shutdown. This will adversely affect your shutdown. It is great for security, and if you are running a business or doing anything of that sort and don't want someone to access your paging file by having physical access to your hard drive and being able to see what you've done or might have been left in your page file, which is a piece of your hard drive that's treated as memory, but unlike RAM, it stays after power is shut out. If you click it for 1, it will clear the page file and you will have that security, but you will also have a longer shutdown and a longer startup. Disable paging executive, recommended for those who are running probably about better than 4 gigs of memory. Will put Windows core files out of the page file and into RAM. This will improve responsiveness of your system. Again, it's another Boolean. If you want it, make sure it's a decimal or hexadecimal of 1. Your page files is just going to show where your existing page files are. That's all it's there for. This one here is a little different. It shows where your existing page file or page files may be. The only thing is the first set of numbers here are going to show what the initial entry size is. Now remember that number I had you write down? Well, that number there, you're going to want to do a multiplier that's going to be slightly greater than that. Now, the exception to this is going to be the following. Now, if you got 8 gigs of memory or better, I'm recommending doing something maybe like 3 gigs of hard drive space applying to the page file, or 4. 4 would be safer. That would be 4092 or 4092. And you're going to put that same number, you're going to get rid of these numbers, type in 4092 space, and the second number is the maximum size for the page file, 4092. The reason we're using the same, actually it should be 6, my correction, 4096. So you guys caught me. 4096, 4096. This is done to reduce system fragmentation, and hitting enter will not help you. What you gotta do is tab it over, or just come over here with your mouse and click OK. Now, when Windows manages your page files, it'll typically expand it as needed. If you got the RAM, you don't need it. You don't need it Windows controlling your page file on that level. And by you controlling it, saying what it starts and stops at, it comes in at one static size, and that's it. It's like a block. It's unmovable. And that means that your system will be more stable and you will have less fragmentation because of a large 4 gig file. Moving on to the next one. Second level data cache. That's another one that I seem to have a lot of emails and written about. People questioning me about this a lot. The second level data cache refers to a small piece of RAM that is put on the processor die. Long story short, it's much faster than your installed memory that you go out to the store and buy, or that may have came with your computer. It is much closer to the CPU core, and therefore much faster, and also the speed is much faster. But it is significantly smaller. When I had you write down your processor name and model number, what you're going to have to do is Google up that processor number, or model number and processor number, manufacturer, and type in specs. So for instance, if you're running an Athlon, actually we'll just do an AMD Phenom 2X4 for instance. Not what I'm running, but just a good example. You need to make sure to put the word specs at the end of it. That's what you want. Now, come over here, go to the main site for AMD, the main site for Intel. Sometimes you may have to go to another one to do it. But you can see right here at the bottom, level 2 cache size, 4x512. So do the math. Bring out your calculator here. 4 times 512 is 2048. That's the number you're going to put in there. And that's equivalent to 2 megabytes. That's the best way of doing it. What you're going to be looking for is something that says L2 cache. If you're an AMD user, Intel users might encounter something called a shared cache. The shared cache, you're going to have to play with numbers that go up to the maximum, including the maximum, but they got to be in increments of 512 or 256. The reason I'm suggesting this is because I don't own any Intel based machines except for an iMac that's probably about 10 years old, and that thing, although it has a 2 meg cache, does not run Windows. And I have seen modern systems with the Intels, including the i3, 5s, and 7s, that do have this shared cache. How these tweaks will run on that particular processor, it's a trial and error. From the people I have advised to work their way up like this, I haven't gotten any negative responses about it, and I've only gotten positive responses about these tweaks I had on my prior video. So take it with a grain of salt, play around with the numbers, start with 10, 24, 248, whatever, and work your way up to what works best for you. Okay, being we're done with memory management, I'm going to have you double check it here under your other control sets just to make sure everything is right. So again, S for Session Manager. You can also use the letter keys on your keyboard to kind of get a little closer. S will get you into the group for Session Manager, and come down here to Memory Management. See, it should all be the same. It should have automatically changed for all users. Okay, now I do note, if you do end up changing a paging file size, that clear page file at shutdown should be done once. So you're going to have to enter it and hit 1, and you're going to have to restart your system and make sure to do that. It's going to take longer for your shutdown and longer for your startup, but your system will start with a fresh page file that's going to start at one size, instead of just maxing out until that size and starting with a size and just allocating it wherever it has free space. It will use the largest chunk of free space it has and make it one contingent size. That is ideal. Now, I don't recommend restarting now, as we still have other tweaks that could require the restart, and it's best to run them all at once through one restart instead of multiple ones. I suggest backing out and exiting this, and the registry tweaks are complete. We're going to be jumping on to the ones that are going to directly affect your hard drive. Right click on your main C drive here, Properties. You go to Hardware, find the one that says your disk drive, Properties. Now you're going to have to go to Change Settings, so it's going to go to UAC Elevated Prompt. You're going to jump to Policies. Now under here, you have the right caching of policy. Make sure both are checked if you have a laptop or have a UAC or emergency backup power supply hooked up to your desktop. What this is going to do, it's going to basically not require Windows to have that extra cache in the event of a power outage. But the thing is, with this, you do risk data loss if you have an abrupt shutdown. This is best for laptops, and being I'm doing this whole video and everything else on a laptop, it's just something to consider. Desktops, I don't recommend it again unless you have emergency power backup for this instance. But at the very minimal, make sure the right caching is enabled on the device. That will help you out a lot. Now going to general. Start by doing a disk cleanup. You may have to go through it twice with the elevated privileges to make sure all the system files are cleaned up, because the next few tweaks we're going to have you do are going to require you to free up your space, and so they're going to go much quicker with less to go through than not. Okay, with this up now, you can see everything that's on here. Pretty much everything here can be safely deleted unless you have stuff in the recycle bin you need to recover. In that case, uncheck it, but make sure to get the space back where you can. This is the extra setting I was telling you about, clean up system files. You'll have to go through the second time and get rid of all the excess system files, error report logs, so forth, and it'll help free up all that space. So you get prompt you if you want to permanently delete them, click yes. The other one will carry on with all these as well, but include the system files as well. Now the last one we're going to do is allow files in this drive to have contents indexed in addition to file properties. You'll also have one that talks about compression. Being this is a custom installation of Windows, I had done it where I had done a 64K sector allocation size, and 64K sector allocation size does not allow compression. So because of that, and it's another thing that allows my system to run quicker, I do not have the compression ability, at least not for this drive. Anything from 32 and below I can. But you're going to want to make sure that this allow files in this drive to have contents indexed in addition to file properties unchecked. Hit apply, and you can go through probably about a pretty lengthy period while it's going through and changing all the file attributes to not index it. And when that's done, you're going to hit OK. Now, being we're still here, you're probably waiting for that file attributes to still run through. Go back here on the free space here, click Properties. Jump back to Advanced System Settings, and I'm going to cover a couple more things here in Performance. Now on this system here, this section here, you're going to want to uncheck anything that has to deal with an action. So animate, fade, show, slide. The exception is going to be smooth edges of screen fonts, smooth scroll list boxes, and use drop shadows for icon labels on the desktop. Those three most people must have, and most people are used to seeing that. That's what allows these words right here to come out so smoothly instead of being all pixelated. Now, the show window contents when dragging, that's a give or take. Only difference is when you take this window here, instead of seeing the contents, you're going to see a clear translucent rectangle, and when you stop, it's going to come back. The only difference. Shows the thumbnails instead of icons. That's if you want to see your actual contents of your picture files instead of seeing icons saying that there is a picture file. It will reduce memory usage. It'll actually reduce the memory usage of your Windows Desktop Manager, but that's optional to you. The one you want to make sure is all the fades are gone. The show shadows under Windows, show shadows under mouse pointer, unless you need them. And the animate controls in Windows when minimizing and maximizing, these things are generally unnecessary. Back on the Advanced tab, if you want to double check your stuff, It's going to show here the custom size has been edited, as we did in the registry editor. It's just a good way to confirm what's going on. Just hit OK because you're not doing anything here, and hit OK. Generally, if you did editing through the Advanced tab, you'd be prompted for a restart once you were done. Just a little heads up on that. Hit OK, and tweaks regarding your hard drive and page file should be complete. Okay, now I want to cover some programs that are pretty typical for users to use to clean up the system, and generally 99% of the ones I use are free of charge. I showed you one earlier called Kirkia Minimem. If you're a Firefox user or use any programs that use high memory, this is a very big helpful one. It's basically just another memory optimization program. They're very common, or more common back in the days of XP. Back when RAM really didn't run up into the 2 gig range, but having 512 was pretty nice back then. But this program's still around, still updated. They have 64-bit versions and 32-bit versions. Best to go with the most stable version. If you're a 64-bit user, see 2.0, 32, 2.0. Not saying the 2.1 isn't stable. I've been using it myself. Been very fine for me. But what this will do is, Firefox, if left unchecked, can jump into the high ranges of 2 gigs of RAM if unchecked. Right now, my Firefox, as it sits, is right around 37 megs. 46, and you jump around every few seconds. Those get knocked right back down once it hits a certain percentage. So once it gets to a couple hundred, it'll knock itself down, and that's the way it's going to be. It's great for all your programs. I run all system files. Everything runs through that Minimem. And it's right here in the icon. Make sure it starts with Windows, or you will not get the benefit of it. You'll have to go find it manually, run it, and make sure it starts with Windows. And basically what you'll have to do is uncheck hide, and just basically select all, or just hold your shift key down and run it all the way down on the list. Just move it on over with this key here, and it'll all get added in. And make sure that it doesn't, you can choose to optionally optimize the foreground process or not. That is your choice. An option to not optimize full RAM available is above 300 megs. Personally, I ignore this one. I want this thing running as lean as possible, so I have the memory where I need it. Either way, you can optimize it every 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 30, 100, 6 minutes, so forth. I generally do 10 seconds because it doesn't wear too much on the CPU and leaves the processing available for use. So you hit apply, OK, and it's in the tray doing its business. The other one I recommend is CCleaner. Nice handy little tool. This one here will allow you to do a lot of nice things, including cleaning up your system, just like disk cleanup, but on a more deeper level, including cleaning up programs like Firefox, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, and so forth. A little more in depth than the basic system cleanup. Worth have. I have it on my system, and it's always been faithful to me. This program has been around for over a decade. It's a trusted program amongst the tech community, and it's made sure to keep itself updated to even address programs such as Microsoft Edge, and it'll go through and clean whatever you have checked off. It's got the Windows tab and the Applications tab here. Gets a little funny sometimes. But as you can see, Firefox, Opera, Windows Store, Windows, Metro applications, Adobe Reader, Google Earth, Office, Paint, PDF Creator, Some of these might be on the list. Generally, you're just going to see the Firefox and Opera, and some of your Windows ones down here. I have a plugin add-on for this. It's called CC Enhancer, which adds in extra applications and programs that are not in the default stock version. It's a great way for cleaning out the things that Windows will not. The second, probably most liked and most used feature of CCleaner is its registry cleaner. This thing will go through and it will clean, search your whole registry, find empty keys, empty files, things that slow down your system when it's starting up, and it will generally clean them out. After the list has been propagated, it'll give you the option to fix selected issues. I recommend running a backup, create it with any name you like, and then run the fix. Generally, letting the CCleaner fix all the issues generally results in the deletion of the key. If the majority of them are just going to be empty keys or unused extensions that you don't use, this is perfectly acceptable. Being I have no issues found, I don't need to worry about this. The tools also has an uninstaller, handy to use before your registry and general cleaner, but we have another application I use instead of this for removing programs. But any of these programs will work fine, including IOBit uninstaller or Revo uninstaller, as they allow you to go through and they find all the traces and remove it. And a good note about Revo uninstaller and IOBit uninstaller: if you have those problematic programs that you get from the store from a fresh install, from your restore disks or directly from the store, you'll notice there's a lot of store applications or applications that came from the manufacturer that you don't use, that you sometimes might not be able to get rid of. These programs here will get rid of it. IOBit uninstaller and Revo uninstaller will remove that program after running a proper uninstall. If you can't uninstall it, just do the powerful scan and it will remove all traces, files, or registry entries whatsoever. Services as well. I've been using this program probably since 2008, and I have not had a problem with it. Correction, 2009. It'll also allow you to clean up system restore points. So if you've got extra restore points, you have about 15 or 20, you can probably get rid of about 10 of them, at least 12, and leave a few left so you can go back. And this way you can free up that hard drive space for more system restore points or things that are more appropriate. It'll also allow you to clean up your browser plugins from things that you really don't need, just mainly by disabling them. So forth. Startup, again, this thing will address things at startup. This has been running a little funny during this video. Could be because of the video recording software, I'm not sure. It does use up a lot of CPU. But that said, this does have a lot more options, including a drive wiper, which can do Department of Defense level wipes to remove any traceability of data recovery of that particular file or files. Alright. You'll find that at pyroform.com. One more program I'm just going to show you real quick. You also should probably defragment your drive. Defragmentation does improve system performance by getting your hard drive set up in a proper manner and your files all in one piece, instead of having to have your drive do its seek time to find portions of the file, then the access time, another 20 to 30 milliseconds. It all adds up. This is why some files take a lot longer to add up, because you don't bring up because you're just spending more time searching. Defragmentation does help a lot with that, but it's better to have something that will actually place it in an appropriate spot. And you have two options. You have the option of IObit Smart Defrag. It has a free version and a paid version. I use the free version myself. Works well. Does have a optimization setting where it'll go through and optimize everything for you. You can see here, it's got a disk defrag options if we do this here, and gives the option for smart defrag, defrag and prioritize, which takes a very long time, or defrag and optimize. Generally, most people have to do the defrag and optimize, and after that, just do fast defrags on a weekly basis. Do the defrag and optimize once a month, and you should be good to go. But it also gives you the option of taking care of large files and defragging free space. But the other quality that's real nice is the boot time defrag, which will defragment the page file and hibernation files. If you choose to maintain your hibernation, defragment the master file table and system files, which most defragmenters now should be doing, but a lot of them still don't have these options. But the Windows defragmenter cannot do it. The other option is My Defrag by Jake Kessels, formerly known as JK Defrag. He rebranded it a good few years back, but the program still runs well. He's been actively developing this. This is a free program. It is an excellent defragmenter. I've used it many times. See here, JK Defrag, My Defrag. They made a graphical user interface for it that will give you more options, make it easier for you to, instead of having to run command line scripts or use the presets that they had. And with that out of the way, your system should be in a much better state than what it was. Making sure your antivirus is up to date, being safe online, you should be good to go. So thank you for watching. Have a good day, and keep an eye out for our videos. Subscribe if you like it. Make sure to thumbs up. And until the next video, be safe out there.